Welcome back. You may know that on weekends we have reruns, so I can take a little time off. And today's episode is from June 7th, 2023, which happened to be a live version. I had just returned home from a trip to Oklahoma the day before, had titles for my video, but no pictures. Just me and the camera. Can you hear that jet going over? I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not. West Fort Worth, where every day is an air show. Anyway, that video begins after a false start, so grab your favorite cuppa, sit back, and let's have a look. I just went through the whole thing and I wasn't live. Okay, so let's start back at the beginning. Oh boy, welcome to my world. I just did the whole thing perfectly, no baubles or anything. And then I went looking for comments or whatever, and I wasn't live. I'm live now. Oh my goodness. All right, let me get back to the top here. Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for June 7th. Pardon me. Okay. Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for June 7th. June 7th is the 158th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 159th in leap years, with 207 days remaining to the end of the year. I have been traveling recently and somehow managed to keep up with these day in history episodes while I was on the road, but now that I'm home, all the catch-up things to do and appointments and whatnot, had a hard time getting this episode ready, so we're just going to do this live today. No pictures, but I do have titles. So I thank you for your indulgence. Today's word is quandary. Quandary is a noun that means a state of perplexity or doubt, a dilemma, a pickle, a catch-22. Example sentences might include, she found herself in a quandary over which job offer to take, or the team was in a quandary about how to proceed as their star player had been injured. The etymology of the word quandary seems itself to be a quandary of sorts because we don't seem to know exactly where it came from. Latin, maybe. It's been around a long while, though, and first known use of the word quandary was in about 1579. Quandary. On a side note, I always thought it would be spelled Quandry because that's how I've always heard it all my life, but no. It is spelled Quandary. Apparently, emphasis used to be placed on the second A, like Quandary. All right. Now, remember, if you have a word that you'd like me to talk about on the Word of the Day section, pop it in the comments. If I can find it in the dictionary and it's not nasty, I'll talk about it. All righty, and with that, the 1960s and 1970s, there was a music group called the Beau Brummels. They took their name from the Regency-era fashion dandy Beau Brummel, whose birthday it is today. Born George Bryan Brummel on June 7, 1778, he went by the name of Beau. His father had struggled to lift the family up into a better situation than he'd had growing up, and he wanted his son to be a gentleman. The young Brummel had a good eye for fashion and was a decent-looking fellow, and apparently charming, too, as he somehow managed to get away with things that others couldn't get away with. He was clever and witty and well-dressed, and when his father died, he received an inheritance of 30,000 British pounds, which would have been quite a fortune for an ordinary citizen, especially back then. But guess what? Beau Brummel was not an ordinary citizen by any stretch. He spent a lot of money on wardrobe. He became friends with the Prince Regent George IV, who admired Brummel's style and wit. That number's given in Roman numerals, and I had second-guessed it for a second, but it's IV, that's for George IV, who admired Brummel's style and wit. This preoccupation with dress, along with a nonchalant display of wit, was called dandyism, and Beau Brummel was definitely a dandy. Eventually, Brummel and the Prince Regent had a falling out. Brummel had long since spent his inheritance and gone into debt, now racking up gambling debts in addition to his other overspending. Back then, if you couldn't pay your debt, you might be thrown into a debtor's prison, and to avoid this, Beau Brummel absconded to France. He didn't change his ways in France, though, and so he eventually ended up in a debtor's prison there. Some of his old friends back in England pitched in to get him out of that debtor's prison. Sadly, he died just a few years later in an asylum at the age of 61. In spite of his flaws, Beau Brummel was mostly well-liked and quite memorable. He has been memorialized in works of fiction and in works of art, and more than 100 years after his death, a band named themselves after him, Beau Brummel. This is the birthday of Welsh singer Tom Jones, born June 7, 1940. He has a powerful and distinctive voice and is known for such hits as It's Not Unusual, She's a Lady, and What's New Pussycat, among others. He's one of those unusual individuals who stayed married to the same woman from their wedding in 1957 until she passed away in 2016, almost 60 years. Back to his career, he got a string of top 10 hits and followed that up with touring and Las Vegas performances. Tom Jones turns 83 in 2023. The Battle of Midway took place for several days in early June of 1942, concluding on June 7, 1942, with an American victory. The British Broadcasting Corporation was founded in 1922. Experimental television broadcasts were started in 1929 and then limited regular broadcasts in 1934, followed by an expanded television service now known as the BBC Television Service. During the Second World War, though, television service was suspended in 1939, leaving information and morale up to radio broadcasters. 7 years British television was off the air until June 7, 1946, when BBC returned to broadcasting its television service. There have been a lot of interesting birthdays on June 7th. I mentioned the late great singer and performer Prince last year, along with Dean Martin and Jessica Tandy. In addition, Liam Neeson, Mike Pence, and Lance Reddick all have birthdays on June 7th. Today's song is Thank God I'm a Country Boy by John Denver. This is a fun song. It was written by John Martin Summers, a guitar, banjo, fiddle, mandolin player in Denver's backup band. The story is that he was feeling particularly grateful and had jotted down some things in and about his life for which he was grateful and happy, and those thoughts became the song Thank God I'm a Country Boy. Released in March of 1975, and here it is, number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on June 7th, 1975. Link in the description. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. I'm trying to remember what else I'm supposed to say right now. I'm drawing a blank. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time. And my goodness, I'm so embarrassed that I read through the whole thing and forgot that I actually have to click the go live button. So, but here we are, and alrighty. Now, okay. Yeah, we look for the thank you very much button now. And thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow. That live actually went pretty well. making me wonder why I don't do more lives. Today's quote is from an amusing story about an IT guy who'd been sent to consult on a new build consultation group for a rather ambitious project. I'll paraphrase just a bit for clarity, but the gist of it is, if you're going to send a professional fault finder to a consultation, you better make sure your pen has plenty of ink. That was written by a Reddit user called GT3Red. Alrighty, take care, be good to each other. I'll see you next time. This isn't exactly an outtake in the usual sense, but it's a clip I thought you might enjoy. In the lab at Texas Oncology here in Fort Worth, they have these darling little solar-activated motion creatures. And what caught my attention today was the tiny little ducks that look like the rubber duckies that float in the tub. So I took a quick video of the lineup. Let's have a look. Alrighty, thought you might enjoy that. See you next time. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, you can check out the playlists in the description. You can find me on BitChute, Facebook, Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube, and X, as well as on a blog page called No Really. All those links are in the description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.